Good morning, friends. Welcome back to our webinar as we continue to educate and update you guys on new emerging technologies and protocols. Today, we're going to be giving you an update on Horizen, formerly known as Zencash. Horizen is a leading blockchain computing network with over 40,000 nodes, possibly the biggest in the world. You can think of them as the decentralized Amazon Web Services, if you will. In short, we believe Horizen is a new type of internet platform that will focus on replacing the big tech, a true Internet 3.0 platform. Our speaker today is Rob Viglione, co-founder and president of Horizen. Rob has degrees in applied math, physics, financial economics, probably has more degrees than me and my colleagues combined. He started out his career as a military scientist where he managed large software development projects. Rob is truly a out-of-the-box thinker and a good friend of the firm. Also, my colleague and head of crypto consulting research, Sean Farrell, will be moderating this webinar. There will be a Q&A at the end of the presentation. You can ask questions using a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. If you have further questions and would like to inquire about investing in Zen, feel free to contact us and we can make the introduction. As usual, we will send out replay information. And as always, on behalf of Tom, my partner, and all our colleagues, I'm grateful for your support and business. Feel free to email us with any suggestions and thoughts. I will now turn the mic over to my colleague, Sean. Thank you very much.
Welcome, everyone. Today, as John mentioned, we're going to be discussing Horizen. I'm sure a lot of you saw our initial webinar with Rob. He gave a very thorough breakdown of the Horizen mission, protocol, vision, and at the time they were working on some very unique software updates on their platform. He'll touch on the progress to date. We've talked a lot about how the crypto industry from a high level has evolved quite a bit over the past few years, moving from a focus on decentralized monetary systems, such as Bitcoin and its several forks, towards actually providing these decentralized economic systems, these platforms that encode trust and the transfer of value within their software. We're all familiar with Ethereum. It is essentially, you could think of it as a decentralized computing platform, or even a decentralized economy. But you probably also heard about some of the apparent shortcomings or supposed shortcomings of the Ethereum network that has to do with, a trouble scaling for some applications, just because the gas fees required to operate on the network can get quite high. Since that time, there have been a lot of different platforms popping up to challenge, or in our opinion, siphon some of the developer mindshare currently operating on the Ethereum network, but provide more scalability or perhaps more security than the Ethereum network. I'm sure, we've discussed Solanas, the Avalanches, other competing layer one networks. While Horizen is in that same category of competing smart contract platforms, they take a very unique approach, whereas, all of these other platforms, or a lot of them rather, approach solving this issue of network congestion via optimizing for speed on the settlement layer. Horizen actually has a sidechain architecture. So, it's probably a brute comparison, but I think of it as this federalized system where the main chain provides security to a bunch of, independent states or chains that have their own set of rules and regulations and can scale on their own dime. Rob will discuss this further, but they actually just launched their Zendoo sidechain protocol yesterday, which is huge for them. And I'm excited to hear more about that, and I'm sure he'll go into more detail about it. And without further ado, I'd like to bring Rob in to make his to brief us on that and discuss Horizen in greater detail.
Thank you for the fantastic introduction. And I do have to say there's two premises that if you believe these premises, you should be interested in at least seeing what we're doing at Horizen. One might be a little controversial for the crypto industry, but I posit that blockchain will be commoditized over time. So blockchains that appear to be unique and one of a kind years ago, because of the nature of this industry of things being open source and innovation just being driven so rapidly from all corners of the world, things will be commoditized. Technology will be copied, products will be mimicked, and this industry will really tend towards more of an infrastructure type of layer. And this is our premise: is we wanted to do infrastructure right. And that's why we focus on building the biggest network in the industry, close to 50,000 nodes out there, kind of like this decentralized AWS, like John mentioned when he kicked off the conversation. But the second premise is the information that gets sent to a blockchain matters, and the type of technology that is used as that kind of, the circuit under the hood that makes all of this stuff work really matters. And we posit that zero knowledge cryptography is that bridging link that is going to make blockchain scale into the main world. And the premise is that data is really the oil of the future economy, or really even today's economy. And data on public ledgers needs to have strong guarantees of security and privacy, and then decentralization such that it can be granularized so that each individual data packet is encrypted and also usable on a public ledger and really owned by the generator of that information. So if you take these two threads together, one on massive scalability of the infrastructure of blockchain, coupled with data privacy for information that ultimately resides on the blockchain, Horizen is a compelling project out there. And hopefully the presentation that I have for you will convince you of that. And I will say that our friends at Fundstrat have been covering this project. I think when Zen was maybe $10, I think they initiated coverage, something like that. So the first 10x came from them just identifying us as a project early on, just with early growth. But the next 10 to 100x, and I'm not talking price, I'm talking really ecosystem explosion. I won't speculate on the price, is really just in our very near future as we go live with now some of these key enabling technologies. And the platform, by the way, they went live yesterday on our mainnet. And now the subsequent products, the SDKs, the software developer kits, the blockchain tools, the virtual machines, the compatibility with Ethereum, all of those things that are coming in the very near future are going to be the catalyst for the subsequent phases of growth that, like Sean said, put us in the category of, say, the Cosmos, the Polkadots, right, the Ethereums of the world in terms of platforms. So that said, let me kick off. But guys, so what we started as a project in 2017, and you can look at the previous webinar that we did together, and also the fantastic reports that Fundstrat has put out on Horizen. But we launched really as a single-use blockchain with the product being a cryptocurrency, Zen. That's all we were in our early days. But the reason why we bootstrapped the way we did, really following the Zcash tech stack, was to become experts in zero-knowledge cryptography, because zero knowledge, like I said, is this critical technology we believe will make blockchain really scale to the mainstream. So what we have today, going from 2017 to yesterday, is now we are a completely new project, a veteran in the industry, but also a completely new project with this interoperability protocol called Zendoo that Sean mentioned went live yesterday. Now we are the zero knowledge enabled network of blockchains. Really high level, what the heck does this mean? This means that our solution to scaling isn't just making a single blockchain faster. It isn't making it more performant. It is actually networking many blockchains together that can operate in parallel and all be supported by common core security and infrastructure using zero knowledge. So using cryptographic circuits, we have figured out how to massively scale blockchain such that you don't have to have centralized certifiers in your system. You replace them with cryptographic circuits. So now just a little teaser is the theoretical capacity in our network. And we're just starting, right? As of this is day one, but the theoretical capacity of our network now is we can have up to 10,000 blockchains operating in parallel, all networked, all part of the Horizen ecosystem, which is really a couple orders of magnitude higher than our competitors at this point. Each of these blockchains, now we have a variety of types of blockchains because our interoperability protocols is consensus agnostic. So it doesn't matter what type of blockchain you run in the Horizen ecosystem. We're going to run Ethereum virtual machines. We're going out of the gate with a product based on Ouroboros-Praos, which is a proof of stake consensus similar to Cardano. It's actually, we have the same research team that Cardano does or has behind our project. And the first product that we're releasing is called Blaze. It is called Blaze for a reason because it's lightning fast and it can have 1,000 transactions per second. So if you can have 10,000 blockchains with 1,000 transactions per second on them, we have an upper capacity of our network now of about 10 million transactions per second. So it is massive. It really is game changing as far as the industry goes. And this is now blockchain acting as a core infrastructure layer. So getting beyond the tribalism of blockchain and really getting to what do developers need, what do enterprises need, what does the entire industry need to scale into the real world. Okay, so this comes from the issue that legacy blockchains had. And I speak of legacy as in blockchain has been around for a really long time. Not really, right? This is an industry that is roughly 10 years old, a little bit longer. And it started with a single extremely, popular blockchain application called money or called Bitcoin that is money, right? It's a store of value, it's a currency, really whatever flavor you want for it, but it is a single application. It was the first application on a single use blockchain, Bitcoin, the most popular blockchain in the world and fantastically successful. Then from there, we had the industry evolve such that, okay, well, blockchains are great for a variety of reasons, for transparency, for data immutability. These are critical things, solve big problems in the world. But how can we actually make a variety of different types of applications beyond just this idea of money? This is where Ethereum came in, and they introduced the concept of a virtual machine to blockchain. And it was wildly successful. It introduced a Turing complete scripting language so that developers can really program in anything you can program into a programming language for applications can be compiled down to a blockchain. But Ethereum was, in a way, a victim of its own success. And I'm not saying let's feel bad for Ethereum because they're massively successful and I expect them to be even more successful. But what you have is you have a single bottleneck for all transactions that flow through there. And as Ethereum became more successful, the transaction volume on the network exploded. And so did transaction fees because you have a single pipe that everything flows through. Then you saw the next evolution here of people realizing we need multiple pipes as an industry. We need multiple pipes so that as these networks become successful, they don't run into this congestion problem where costs skyrocket just at the same time where you have large user adoption and you need costs to come down per user, per transaction. You don't need them to escalate exponentially, which is what happened. So then you saw the idea of sidechains being born. And sidechains projects, some fantastic ones like Cosmos with IBC protocol. You have Polkadot out there. And then it was the idea of we can run multiple blockchains in parallel on a network, and maybe they can solve different problems. Maybe they could have different functionality, or maybe they're just running different applications, right? Whatever the concept is you need to have multiple pipes in your network. And we took this to the completely next level, which was, okay, we need decentralized pipes in a network. We need it to be permissionless, and we need it to be massively scalable. Because if you take other projects like Polkadot that are also phenomenally successful and great projects, but again, because of the demand going into this segment of the industry, people realizing, yes, sidechains are the future. We need to get in there. Their capacity was still limited, and you had excessive bidding for the right to operate sidechains in some of these ecosystems, and the price to operate sidechains really escalated significantly. What we brought to the table was a permissionless, decentralized way that you can have thousands of blockchains running in parallel. And the way we do this is we remove the humans from the loop. We remove the centralized certifiers, the specialized nodes that are allowed to validate transactions and post them to the main chain. We replace them with cryptographic circuits that are automated and just completely scalable so that people can deploy their own circuits and deploy their own blockchains, and they can operate in a network that is succinct using zero knowledge proofs and using snarks, a succinct data type in the snark world, in the zero knowledge world. so that we can actually have these things operating in parallel in a completely decoupled way. So it moves away from the concept of one size fits all architecture of a single pipe, even by multiple but still centralized pipes in the networks, now exploding out into completely decentralized and massively scalable. So really, the way that we do this is with zero knowledge cryptography. This is what we believe is the key. And there aren't many companies or projects in the world that can do this stuff. Zcash was the first on zero knowledge to really bring it to the blockchain world, where you have the idea of coin anonymity. So if I were to send John or Sean some Zen, you have the ability to shield that transaction, shield the sender, shield the recipient, shield the amount. This was the first application of zero knowledge cryptography in blockchain, but we've taken it much further. In fact, we've built a world-class cryptographic team and cryptographic engineering team, circuit building team, where we've generalized the idea of privacy into the data, into arbitrary data structures. So we use zero knowledge in 3 different ways. One is zero knowledge to connect blockchains to each other. And the idea here is that the main chain, if we had to program the logic for every single side chain into the main chain so that it can communicate with every single side chain, it just doesn't scale. The blockchain would be bloated, and we would have to a priori ex ante program in logic. We didn't want that. We wanted to use zero knowledge tools so that what happens in the sidechain stays in the sidechains, but zero knowledge certificates are sent back via a circuit to the main chain. There's a snark verifier in the main chain, and we can make sure that the rules, the consensus for any of the sidechains, in particular, the use of Zen in the sidechains, has been valid, and all of the rules of the system have been conformed to. The second thing that we do with snarks or zero knowledge is data privacy. Like I said, data is the oil of the future economy or today's economy. It's only going to become massively more valuable. And what we're doing is we're providing tools for people to own their own data, for data to be published to public ledgers without revealing that data, whether you're an individual who wants privacy preservation for your data on a social network, or if you're a company, an enterprise that wants to make sure that your competitors aren't seeing what you're doing, or if you're a financial institution trading in Web3 DeFi markets, you don't want your order flow seen by other traders in the marketplace. The tools that we've created using zero knowledge cryptography are absolutely key to that. And some of the applications, in particular in DeFi, are going to be explosive. The third thing we use is really a cryptographic trick for making our blockchain succinct. Now, we use snark recursion, so a recursive zero knowledge technique, such that the blockchain doesn't scale itself, its own database doesn't scale with usage. We actually keep the database succinct. So for those who are familiar with the project Mina, M-I-N-A, in the industry, we also use a very similar technique to make our side chains succinct so that they don't scale with usage. So we have scalability baked into the system at all levels, from the 50,000 nodes running the system to the 10,000 blockchains that can operate it, to the types of blockchains using succinct recursive snarks so that the blockchains themselves don't scale in size. So this is massive scalability that we think is absolutely needed for this industry to go to the next level. We're very fortunate to have some of the biggest backers in the industry. I mean, very fortunate to have Fundstrat coverage, but also digital currency group support and the entire, being a DCG portfolio company and portfolio product, like Zen, like Horizen Labs, actually the software company we have behind this project, all VC backed and supported by DCG and their family of companies like Grayscale. Now, our relationship with Grayscale is absolutely crucial, or I would say so important, because we are one of now about a dozen projects in the industry that have professional investment products around them. So we have a Grayscale Horizen Investment Trust that was publicly listed. So now people in their American normal brokerage accounts, where you buy stocks, bonds, and in REITs, REIT shares, you can buy shares of Zen. It's the ticker symbol is HZEN. And we could not be more grateful for the support that we've had from some of the industry's biggest investors, who recognized what we were doing early with the vision and the team behind us. And now we're finally delivering the technology that they've invested in years ago and supported us. We have a large ecosystem for saying our protocol just launched yesterday. So we've been around for a while, and we've been around as a cryptocurrency Zen for a while, and we have some significant or serious institutional support. particularly on the R&D side. So like I said, we share an R&D team, so deep technology, cryptographic research, cryptographic engineers, mathematicians with Cardano. The company is called IOHK. We have tremendous institutional investor support. We have tremendous software company support with NTT Data. We're on the major exchanges out there. So Zen is tradable. We have decent volume, and that volume's only growing. We're just recently listed on Coinbase. We've been on Binance for a while, Binance US and so forth. We also have big partnerships within our industry. What we realize is our tools, by being the infrastructure for the industry, are actually very useful for other projects that have their own blockchains and actually have their own communities and have their own products. In particular, one of our most important and I would say exciting partnerships is with the largest lender in the industry, Celsius Network. And what we do for them, they're a CFI, or centralized finance application, where you post your digital assets collateral and you can take loans on your collateral. It's a massively popular, successful application. But one of the big limitations, being in a decentralized industry like blockchain, Celsius being a CFI app, their users need to trust Celsius, the company itself, that they're appropriately handling the reserves or have the reserves against the collateral against the loans that they're issuing. What we've built for them using completely decentralized Horizen infrastructure and zero knowledge cryptography is a real-time, completely decentralized cryptographic based audit system for them. So basically, we audit all of the digital asset reserves on chain using zero knowledge cryptography. So none of the transaction flows, the specific addresses, none of that is revealed to the public, but the public gets to see real time the exact cryptographically proven reserves that Celsius is holding. So this is a very exciting product that we're building an entire data infrastructure behind it, where we're snarkifying the industry and snarkifying other blockchains out there, starting with Bitcoin. We have other big partners in the industry, from Dash to IOTA, partners outside of the industry. But what we realized was that blockchain industry itself can use the infrastructure that we're providing. And we're very fortunate to have a large variety of wallet partners and ecosystem investors behind us. And that just continues to grow every single day. Now, what we have is really a full stack architecture, call it. Really, our stack starts with a cryptocurrency, Zen, and that kind of main chain blockchain that we talked about, where Zen is the necessary cryptocurrency for the entire network. Now, I think an important thing to note here is, what is the value proposition for Zen itself? Zen was purely a cryptocurrency 2 days ago. Today, it is both the stake required for these proof of stake sidechains. We can have thousands of them. So you can think about the potential organic demand for Zen, just in the sense that Zen is needed for stake on these proof of stake sidechains. Zen is also now the transaction gas for transactions that happen running decentralized applications on any of these sidechains. Now, one of the next most exciting things that we're going to deliver in the Horizen ecosystem is Ethereum compatibility. And this is going to happen much sooner than people think, where we're going to deploy an Ethereum virtual machine, an EVM, in fact, the same exact EVM that Ethereum uses today, so that we can have compatibility with Ethereum and the entire rich smart contract world that has built in that ecosystem, where it will all be compatible in Horizen, and we should see an explosion of Web3 and DeFi and NFT applications within here. And Zen will be the transaction gas for these virtual machines. Zen will be the transaction gas for anything that gets built in our ecosystem. So we go from being a cryptocurrency to now being a stake required for proof of stake blockchains, to also being a transaction gas for actual utility for decentralized applications in the Web3 environment. Yeah, and all this you can consider built in a complete stack, really, for all types of applications, from enterprise to modern Web3. We differ in a variety of ways from other projects, and some things are really important for us. And some of this is, we consider ourselves like the developers ecosystem. We've built some of the geekiest tools for the geekiest developers out there using zero knowledge cryptography, but also now our big focus is on making the tools accessible to a much broader set of developers out there, where we give them complete design freedom. Because unlike other ecosystems, you don't have a single particular consensus, programming language, or other constraints of a particular protocol that you have to abide by. Our system, Zendoo, is completely flexible, so that you can have Ethereum blockchains running in our ecosystem. We could ultimately have Polkadot. We could have Cosmos, IBC compatible blockchains running in our ecosystem. You can have your favorite flavor of privacy coin, whether it's a Monero chain, whatever you find interesting, whatever NFT protocol you find interesting, all of these things now are compatible and possible within the Horizen ecosystem with what we built, with complete design flexibility for developers. Like we've been mentioning, we have the largest node infrastructure in the network, in the industry, which means that our network never goes down. Now, there have been some high profile network downings or downtimes that have happened for some popular projects out there because they don't have the network infrastructure that we do. We have almost 50,000 nodes operating all over the world. We have no idea who these node operators are. Many of them are run by some of the industry's most trusted and successful infrastructure providers themselves, like Foundry, another GCG portfolio company, and most others are completely decentralized, run all over the world. So the network is always up. We focus on the tools. So we're building a protocol. We focus on the tools for developers. It's called software developer kits, SDKs, where you can basically have tools to shortcut your ride as a developer to deploying your own blockchain, creating your own blockchain, deploying your own blockchain, just making that process easier for developers, and so that we can have many blockchains operating in our ecosystem. So to us, the concept of a smart contract is kind of like having your own sidechain in our ecosystem. And of course, like I said, we'll be Ethereum compatible soon. So we'll have the traditional smart contracts that everyone knows and loves from the Ethereum ecosystem in there. Massive throughput without compromising decentralization is key, because some of the most successful projects on the market over the last couple of years have been advertising massive throughput, like high transaction per second, TPS, through the network. The way they do this is by consolidating the network and consolidating certifiers and centralizing, which now has that trade-off on security. And this is what we always go through as an industry. It's a trade-off between scale and speed, TPS, versus how decentralized we want to be. More decentralized, typically, the slower your network. Actually, we've spent the time, years now of R&D, to have the type of system where it scales massively, it's completely decentralized, but also has massive TPS through the network, because we've created an architecture that is a blockchain of blockchains environment. And now we have a variety of products within that blockchain ecosystem, where we have the Blaze product, which is lightning fast. If speed is important to you, we have another product called Lattice, which is completely decentralized. If decentralization is important to you, we'll have another product that's an EVM-based sidechain if smart contracting is important to you. So for us, it's about giving developers the tools they need to solve the problems that they're actually facing and not making it one size fits all. The last thing I'll mention is we are one of maybe a dozen projects in the world that are really like global experts in zero-knowledge cryptography, which is this kind of missing link to make this entire industry explode to the mainstream. So we also have a variety of companies. So we just launched our protocol yesterday, but we weren't just sitting around hoping that, like Field of Dreams, build it and they will come, which I do think will happen, but we're a bunch of proactive guys and we wanted to get out there and bring other partners into the ecosystem in advance. And this is where we have some just really fantastic projects that span the industry. So we consider ourselves crypto first. We want to be compatible, interoperable, and just work with the best projects in the industry. And you see some of them, like the biggest lender in the industry, one of the oldest, like the OG of blockchains out there, Dash, IOTA, another kind of Internet of Things type of massively scalable IoT type of blockchain that we're partnered with, and a variety of other partners, including like the play to earn companies, play to earn metaverse companies out there. So where we're focusing is the tip of really the frontier of the industry. What is going to be massively successful and be hot? What can our industry do better than previous industries before us? And that's where we're focusing ourselves in a lot of our effort with our partners. There's a typo on the screen. And the typo is because our TPS has just gone up an order of magnitude with the Blaze product release. And we were actually 1 million TPS, transaction upper bound. Now we're 10 million, like I've been saying, with the Blaze product entering our ecosystem. We offer a compelling value prop, and this isn't to say that all of these other projects here listed aren't awesome in their own right, because they are. They solve different problems. Our project solves a couple of things, like I said at the beginning here. If you believe that infrastructure is important to this industry to scale it, because blockchain itself will be commoditized in some fashion, we are a very compelling player in the space. And if you believe that the scalability type that we do with the blockchain and blockchains approach is really important, we are for sure a great project that you should be looking at. But then also the zero knowledge stuff. And the zero knowledge stuff I've been kind of glossing over here. but I can't foot stomp this enough on how important it is for this entire industry to really scale and for applications to get out there. And when we talk about, like people bring up lots of different types of applications, from we can decentralize Uber, we can decentralize medical records on blockchain, anything you can come up here in terms of these dApps, and that actually have real use cases with real human beings behind them, are not going to want to publish sensitive information. Even my Uber rides all over the world, I don't want the entire world to be able to track where I am or what I'm doing at any given point in time. So zero knowledge cryptography is absolutely key to get that information on chain so we can do things with it, but also have privacy preservation around it. Finally, what I'll say is we, like many of the other good ecosystems out there, we started off as a pure open source community driven project, and our community is the most important thing to us. And before we even started thinking product market fit, we were thinking community market fit. But what we realized as we were growing was we really need to turbocharge our software development. So we launched specifically a crack software development company, Horizen Labs. Now, Horizen Labs, we launched in 2019 and had some phenomenal backing behind that project. DCG leading it, Kinetic, another fantastic VC, Liberty City Ventures behind us, and also some of the biggest investment bankers, from West Coast Hollywood, from LionTree to Sound Ventures to Artist Capital, one of the biggest derivatives exchanges there, and some other crypto funds out there as well, supporting us. We've been very fortunate with those who are backing us, but what it's given us is the ability to really get out there and focus and to hire the best in the industry, and from cryptographers, mathematicians, to cryptographic engineers, to blockchain developers, to Solidity devs, and to everything in between as well. Our business ops team is fantastic in getting out there. We're networked across the industry. We're now partnered with the biggest NFT brand in the industry, the Bored Ape Yacht Club. We're doing their token launch for them. So we've just built a kind of a best in class team out there, and that team is at the heart of the crypto industry and is benefiting the Horizen ecosystem tremendously. We have some fantastic leadership behind here. I'm probably the least impressive person on the list, but I mean, if you look at the bios of the team behind the project, it is absolutely phenomenal. Really humbled to be working with these people. And really, that's it. I mean, I don't want to speak too long here. I just wanted to give you guys an update, since we've already done a webinar, and when I think Zen was like $10 or so, and you guys kind of called our early growth and just spotted that and talked about the potential of what we could do, and we finally delivered on the first absolutely key technology innovation with Zendoo yesterday, and now the real fun's going to start. So I'll stop there and back to you guys.
Right, that was great. Phenomenal overview and update. We appreciate that. And likewise, we were very excited to see. This really feels like a true milestone and a inflection point for the Horizen platform. And we're going to be watching closely to monitor development activity and see what projects emerge. We're excited about that. So now I think, we have a Q&A section normally. So if you guys are watching and have some questions for Rob, definitely throw them into the chat. I'll go through a few and maybe put my own spin on a few of them. There's a question about proof of work. So I think maybe it's useful to just clarify the interaction between proof of work and proof of stake, and why that is a beneficial format or architecture for Horizen, and what some of the benefits are, because it's a very unique combination.
Yeah, okay, great question, because I know proof of work is becoming increasingly controversial. The way we have it here is actually, I think we have like the best type of compromise. The compromise is proof of work is fantastic, fantastic consensus for security. It's worked really well from Bitcoin on, and it's worked really well for us. And at the core of our network, our main chain is still a proof of work enabled main chain. But what we've done from there is actually we've extended in the proof of stake direction significantly. And that started with our kind of master node system, where we've built out these tens of thousands of nodes. They're all actually staked. They require Zen stake, right? And that was just the first step. But now the next evolution of that is with our sidechain system. The first batch of sidechains that we're delivering, and really, like, quite frankly, the only sidechains we're focusing on, are proof of stake. So on the margin, and this is where like the average marginal you call it the average marginal, like, power consumption per transaction on our network has just collapsed, because we have one main chain that is highly secure from proof of work, and now has this hybrid model of side chains being secured with proof of stake and with cryptographic circuits. So all of the applications and like all the application logic and the enterprise stuff, and really that massive scale is going to happen in the proof of stake part of our network, and that proof of work component doesn't have to scale. I mean, it's already it's because we have like a modified proof of work to begin with, where we modified the Nakamoto consensus to make it even more efficient and secure by adding a delayed block penalty in there. We've hardened proof of work the way it operates with us, and from there on the margin, we're really focused on proof of stake to just be more efficient. And the good news is the industry seems to be migrating towards proof of stake, especially for ecological, power consumption purposes. And really on the margin, that's exactly where we're focusing. But we get the best of both worlds, to be frank.
Got it. That's helpful, and a good overview. So if we're looking at other similarly architectured platforms, I know you had mentioned Polkadot, Cosmos. Could you maybe compare yourself with those platforms, and perhaps what the trade-offs are with Horizen, and just what the general differences are?
Yeah, sure. So, these were some of the earliest sidechain systems out there, and just the technology they use. There's been an evolution in sidechain technology, and it started by saying we could have a sidechain, like the Adam Back's 2014 paper was, we can have a sidechain by having trusted certifiers that are there in the loop, and they're monitoring transactions on sidechains, and the trusted entity in this ecosystem, signs off on those transactions, and then we post them to the main blockchain. That concept scaled into the IBC protocol with Cosmos. That took it to the next level, call it, but it centers around kind of a set of trusted certifying nodes, and you have to just trust that set. That set isn't very scalable in itself, and that set is by definition, not completely decentralized. Polkadot now took a similar approach, but then brought an EVM, right away into the system, realizing, and obviously given the founders from Polkadot realized that being Ethereum compatible was key from the very start. So they took that approach and were phenomenally successful with it, but they still face that same kind of like small set of certifiers problem. Now, what we've done is we tackled it from the opposite approach. We said, we want this to be completely decentralized from the start, because we want it to be a massive infrastructure layer. And then we're going to bring in the EVM. Then we're going to do the Ethereum compatibility. Then we're going to do the application stuff, right? So it has been quite a painful R&D path. It's taken us a few years to use zero knowledge technology to actually create to obviate the need for these centralized certifiers, or the small set of certifiers, and we've replaced them by circuits. So that's the biggest thing. And then everything from there is going to be pretty similar from like the application developer's perspective, because we will be compatible with Ethereum. We will be compatible with Cosmos. So developers will have all of that. It's just they're going to get a much larger infrastructure underneath it all.
Yeah, that's good. That makes a lot of sense. Is there a way, we've thrown around zero knowledge and that term, and we understand it enables it circumvents the need for, as you said, a centralized authority to monitor or view transactions. Do you have an ELI 5 for how that actually works? Because it is a complicated, but I would consider it a very important aspect of Horizen.
It is, and let me just promote. We actually have a whole Horizen Academy, which, despite the name, isn't specific on Horizen. It's actually on like blockchain technology. So blockchain technologies, zero knowledge.
Cool.
So we literally have an ELI 5 for zero knowledge on there. So check it out, guys. And we're actually in the process of compiling an ebook on ZKP, zero knowledge proofs. But in general, I think the best way to understand it is with the simple example of the coin transfer that Zcash brought to the market, just in the sense of, like, what does this stuff do? What it does is it obfuscates what happens in a transaction, and like under the hood, it's actually a stochastically driven like proof of an argument of knowledge. So basically, I'm arguing that I sent Sean some Zen, and we can the probabilistically, with like, risk of being wrong asymptotically towards zero, prove to the world that yes, I did in fact send you something. And what I sent you was what I claim I sent you, even though I'm not telling the world what I sent you. I'm just claiming that I sent you something, and I followed the rules of the system. The rules, the consensus of the network has been met. The way we interact with the network has been met. I owned the coins before, so there's a check that I actually owned the coins that I sent to you, and you have a valid address, and that you actually received the coins. All of the stuff is compacted into a circuit, and that circuit contains all of the logic of the rules that must be met. And there's a probabilistic engine there just that says probabilistically. And what it does under the hood is it's constantly sampling many times whether or not the arguments of knowledge that you're claiming is valid or not. And I know that this sounds sometimes a little weird, but I think just the coin transfer analogy is just the easiest way to understand it. And I know we're taking it to be in many different directions, but like other interesting applications would be, I can prove to you that I am, X years old, I'm over 21 years old. Please sell me that beer, without actually showing you my birth date, without actually showing you my driver's license, which has my address on it, without showing you any of this stuff, just providing a cryptographic proof of my age based on inputs that you're not allowed to see. This is just one example of like a zero knowledge ID product we'll have out there. We'll have many other products out there using zero knowledge cryptography, but the idea is that you can't see what's happening. You just get a cryptographic proof of what I'm claiming.
That's really interesting. Not sure I would have understood that when I was 5, but I thought that was very
sorry
good
guys. Maybe 5th year of grad school.
So on that topic of zero knowledge, I think regulatory concerns and just KYC is kind of a hot button issue in crypto and for a lot of these platforms. And we have a question here from an audience member pertaining to ways that a dApp could theoretically leverage transaction metadata to allow for regulatory compliance. I guess, is that true? And if yes or no, just I guess like high level, how do you think about regulatory compliance?
Yeah, so I mean, we're very fortunate to be in the U.S. where it's been a very I would say open for innovation type of environment, while at the same time having pragmatic regulations that prevent some of the most egregious abuses, say maybe money laundering or some other things that could happen with this technology if it were completely unregulated. What the US has done is focus on the points of exchange, really, first and foremost, in terms of regulation. And I think that was the most pragmatic approach. And they've really been hands off on the cryptography, even though every now and then you hear cryptography being challenged on law enforcement. But the fact that our cell phones use advanced cryptography, the messaging apps we use advanced cryptography, thus far we haven't actually seen challenges. In fact, I would say it's the opposite. When you see a lot of opprobrium or like distaste around what the social media platform companies are doing with our data, people are realizing, well, actually maybe people need to be protected from the platforms. When you look at GDPR in Europe, for data privacy rights for individuals, what we're doing with zero knowledge crypto is actually very much in line with those big trends out there. So we're actually very happy about that. And to the extent that we can protect metadata, so we have one partner that does metadata for NFTs, and we're providing like zero knowledge circuits for them. Right. So this is one example of like us actually doing something that I think regulators would be happy about. Actually protecting users' information out there from predatory uses from either platforms or hackers and nefarious people like that. And I think we're on the right side of regulation, and I think that is, at least in the U.S. and Western Europe, regulators realize they want to protect the innovation and really just focus on the big problems that can happen out there, which are really the points of exchange.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great summary and a good way to look at it. On the note of regulation, we actually have a few questions. I may have missed us touching upon this, or you touching upon this in your presentation, but you guys had several recent listings and a interesting development as it pertains to the Horizen, Grayscale Horizen product. Could you maybe touch upon investor access and where people can access exposure to Horizen currently?
Absolutely. So this last year has been phenomenal for us in terms of like the maturity of our markets from, access in particular, but then also just kind of liquidity on our markets. But basically we were listed on Coinbase recently. So this was for us in the US, the most important listing that we've had thus far, or really globally, because it opens access to the regulated US market, which is important. The Grayscale product was actually a bit of a surprise for us. So we had the Horizen Investment Trust that was private for accredited investors, has been a product out there for a couple of years, but Grayscale pushed that through the regulatory process to actually be listed on OTC markets in the US. So basically, like I said, you can now ticker symbol HZEN, so Horizen Zen, HZEN, you could buy in your normal brokerage account. So you can add this with stocks and bonds, and in your REIT shares, you can now add shares of Zen, which is very unique. There aren't many other cryptocurrencies you can do that with. We're one of them, and we're very fortunate to have Grayscale as a partner. So this significantly increased our access to the market.
That's great. Yeah, and of course, I think from our perspective, we always recommend holding the actual asset if possible, because that way you avoid any issues with discounting to NAV. And you get to control your own private keys. But if you're a passive investor looking for exposure, don't want to actively manage, Grayscale's a phenomenal route, and they play such a great role in this industry. That is great. It looks like we also have a few questions, I guess you could call it roadmap related. First one, as it pertains to projects being built, you mentioned a couple of the hands-on projects that you're actively working with development teams to build. Are you seeing any interesting new projects popping up independent of development team efforts? Understanding it's still probably early.
Yeah, it is early, and it's early from the sense that our stack is a little different than others. So for us, it's like you could compare where we are today with where Cosmos was when they launched IBC. So this was pre-blockchains actually launching using IBC, to launch chains within the Cosmos ecosystem. We've just launched our version of IBC, right? So it's going to, we're racing and working with many partners to now have a bunch of blockchains that get launched in our ecosystem. But it's really when those chains get launched and the applications that can be built on those chains where things are going to get really exciting, in particular when we launch our EVM. When that EVM goes live in our ecosystem, that's where we think we're going to have really the big inflection point where all of the Web3 DeFi apps are going to be coming into our ecosystem. Just given first mover advantage, given the compatibility, given the potential arbitrage opportunities, it's going to be a really nice opportunity for those who are in our ecosystem to now access all of the same types of products like stable coins, like automated market makers, DAXs, the peer-to-peer lending protocols. All that stuff is, we have dev teams coming in advance to build with our EVM product. But until that EVM gets deployed in our ecosystem, it's going to be kind of view it as like we're just starting to push the coefficient of friction, right? Maybe not Eli 5, but we're just starting that big push. Now, that said, we do have some fantastic projects that are choosing to build entirely in the Horizen ecosystem. In fact, one of them should be announced during Art Basel this week, which is a huge sports metaverse play. It is going to be massive NFT play, massive stablecoin play, just massive, overall like fantasy sports metaverse play, which we're super pumped about. I think will be one of the most exciting projects building natively in our ecosystem, even pre-EVM. So we have some really exciting stuff. I don't want to jump the gun on announcing things until we publicly get it out there.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think, there are a couple questions about roadmap and plan and goals. Would you say that the launch of the EVM is kind of the next big milestone? Don't want to put any pressure on you to put a timeline on it, but to any extent you could speak to some goals, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I'll tell you my personal, since hey, we're all friends here. I'll give you my fireside chat thoughts. Is I think so the Zendoo release yesterday was the most important thing that's happened to us in ecosystem. But what I kept trying to temper our community's expectations that it opens the door. Now we need to step through that door and we need to make things happen. So the next big thing that's going to happen is we're going to be releasing a tokenization platform in Horizen. So we're going to have a token standard using the stack that we've been developing for the last couple of years. It'll be very fast. It'll be extremely secure, massively scalable, low cost, and so forth. Way to mint, issue, trade tokens, right? So this tokenization platform will be that next big step up for us, because still, even though we release Zendoo, the only product running today is Zen, the cryptocurrency. Once we get the tokenization platform out there in very short order, this opens the door significantly, but it's still like the next big step. It's not sufficient. Once we get the EVM out there, this is going to be that big leap where things really just go exponential, because now we tap into being compatible with Ethereum, compatible with the entire DeFi world. Now, this to me is absolutely critical as a foundational element for any ecosystem. You need stable coins, you need AMMs, you need DEXs, you need protocols like Aave out there. You need all of these things. These are the tools, the foundations that every ecosystem needs, and we're going to have them kind of rolling in with the EVM, but we're going to be kind of making some important advancements leading up to it. So the way I view it is, like, if you're looking to join as an investor in our ecosystem, don't expect miracles overnight, but you're having constant progress from just the announcements of this big metaverse play being built in Horizen, the NFT, platform that's coming with that, the tokenization platform. We're having big releases along the way. And by the time we hit the EVM, that's really where I view the crescendo of things really opening up.
That's great. Yeah, no, and I agree. And this is like, the framework has been set, and in this new decentralized economy, this new source of block space. And, I think it's a good opportunity to get in, on the ground floor now, while, people start to before developers even start to migrate and build apps on Horizen. So that's great. Is there any, you just raised capital. Is there any plans to create a ecosystem development fund?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's there will be more news specifically about it, but we have a few dozen VCs that are joining a consortium to invest specifically into the Horizen ecosystem. I just did a live stream earlier with MXC, a big centralized exchange out of Asia that is now looking to basically, they're taking us on as their blockchain ecosystem that they want to support, and they're putting together a large fund themselves to support us. In addition to that, we do have, like I said, a few dozen other VCs that are coming together and pulling capital, and we're matching that with our public treasury. So we do have a public treasury that is used for grant programs and community growth, that now we're tooling that or adding functionality to give non-dilutive grants to startups, devs, teams that are just building within our ecosystem.
That's great. That's phenomenal. All right, let me just do one quick pass at these questions. I think we got through most of them, and we are coming up on time. So I guess I'll just turn to you and if let us know if there's anything else you'd like to mention. But this has been great and super informative, and we remain pretty bullish on the long-term prospects of this platform, given its unique architecture and having it being centered around data privacy and scalability. I think we feel pretty good about the trajectory of this project, and we appreciate your time today.
No, likewise. We very much value our Fundstrat relationship. You guys you've even helped us see aspects of our projects that we just took for granted or weren't really focusing on. That just made a lot of sense. We've really appreciated your inputs and just the exposure that you've given us and just supporting us. And for anyone out there who's liked anything that I've talked about here, you can see the last slide here has all of our community links. Start with our website. Our marketing team is pretty awesome, and it's just really getting warmed up. And they just released a new version of the website, horizen.io, yesterday. Check it out, give us feedback, join the community, and we can be in touch.